Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Dr. Bobby Huynh, and let's queer up the USA view. Will Idaho's resolution to repeal marriage equality be the model for the USA? Idaho's Republican senators are warning the nation, saying you could be next. A recent resolution, House Joint Memorial 1, urges the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn Obergefell versus Hodges, a law that brought national marriage equality. This measure claims the Supreme Court overstepped by requiring states to recognize same-sex marriages. It calls for a return to a, quote, natural definition, unquote, of marriage, one man and one woman. While non-binding, the resolution is still harmful. According to the ACLU of Idaho, it sends a message to LGBTQ communities that they don't deserve equal rights. In a statement to the advocate, ACLU spokesperson said, quote, the legislature's purpose in introducing a toothless statement to intimidate, ostracize, and bully gay and queer people. However, they cannot do that effectively if our communities refuse to tolerate this kind of bigotry. And we will support Idahoans in fighting back against bad legislation, end quote. Well, for one thing, they can't really unilaterally throw it back.
Yeah.
And also there are some real legal questions about, they're going to ask Idaho people Idaho government or legislators to demonstrate how equal marriage has material harm, bring material harm to other straight marriages. Yeah. I mean, you don't lose money out of it. You don't, you don't. I mean, on the other hand, and Alex, who is always the skeptic of authority, thinks that, the Supreme Court overturned it regardless, except that they still need a good reason to do it.
Yeah.
So the way, the far right tends to do these sorts of playbooks is this is the first signal.
Yes.
Some state's going to pass an anti-marriage equality law, and that's how you then get it into the court. It's funny because we were mentioning my work at Options, I had two writers write a piece because President Biden actually signed into law the Respect for Marriage Act in 2022. I want to give a little shout out to Jackie Goldman and Grant Pike because your piece I had to reread a little bit for today because, allegedly the Democrats passed a law to protect us from this. But the Respect for Marriage Act, I believe it's called, all it did is it protects currently married LGBTQ people from their rights being rescinded. And I found that to be, this is the thing that really scares me and that Jackie and Grant had wrote about of what's going to happen is the Republicans are going to move forward on this.
Yes.
And and instead of enshrining marriage rights into law, Joe Biden, with the backing of the Human Rights Campaign and the National LGBTQ Task Force and the National Lesbian Law Center, all love this bill that only protected the currently married. And that really scares me about our chickens are coming home to roost of not doing our job.
I was saying this during the whole election. See, they were targeting the trans community. They used this as a political scare tactic and also a political wedge. And the gay community, a lot of the gay community had this attitude like, oh, that's the trans people's problem. They're the one getting targeted. But I was saying, once they come for us, they're coming for y'all. They're coming for gay marriage next. Right. And this is an example of them starting it.
And people need to remember, there are 30 states that have anti-marriage equality laws on the books. So if the Supreme Court made a ruling, since the Democrats did not make a federal protection, people, including us in Florida, Thursdays, we will lose marriage equality instantly. And there will be no path for us to get it back electorally anytime soon.
That will cause extreme chaos everywhere. Lawsuits will definitely fly.
Yeah. To sue for what? To sue the Supreme Court? We don't like your ruling?
No, not that. State courts. The state court will have to determine if existing marriages still deserve protection, even if you cannot conduct new marriages.
Those will be protected under the Freedom for Marriage Act under the federal law.
Respect of marriage.
That's the thing. But also, people forget, the reason why the Supreme Court will probably throw marriage equality out was, what was the case that was the linchpin to marriage equality, that protection of privacy? Was it women's rights? So when we took away, that's right. So when we took Roe v. Wade away, you took away queer people's rights. And the fact that, it hurts trans people, it hurts queer people, it hurts racial minorities. and it hurts gay people.
but
When you take one right away, they all fall.
And listen, they knew what they were doing. Trump, when he was president in 2016, during his term, he put 3 conservative judges on the Supreme Court. And also on the lower courts all around the country. I think it was like 198 judges. I don't
think
quote
there might have been a 90.
Actually, now,
I can't recall.
actually,
it was a big
now-
number.
It was a big number.
Actually,
yeah.
Biden judges now outnumber Trump judges.
Well, that's good.
One of
That's
his
a good
legacies.
thing.
is that.
Well, give that another week. He's back. He'll outdo him in a week. You know.
But more importantly, there are going to be serious. I mean, this next 4 years is going to be a legal dogfight. You know, we need to support people like ACLU. You know, Southern Poverty Law Center, the legal bodies, or the legal advocates. They're going to advocate for our community.
Unfortunately, the Biden administration didn't pass the laws needed for that to be an effective avenue. I think we have to start talking more about street activism. I mean that in a polite street activism, but like, well,
Acts up.
non-violent is what I mean. But like, really mess with the power. Like, you know, do a sit-in in a street and stuff. Like, do that sort of stuff. But like, really mess.
Not
with
in
society.
Florida, where Ron DeSantis decriminalizes if drivers run over protesters on public roads.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to hit someone with my car because I don't want to have to deal with the paint job being fixed.
Well, you also drive a Tesla.
The law is very selective.
Musk will probably
on who
remotely
commits the
detonate your
crime.
car if you
Yeah.
try to, if you try to go to a protest. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.